Hello, good evening. This is UTV Live.
Tonight at 6, fighting for answers. The families of the two women who died after smear test failings take the first steps for accountability.
I really can't believe that this day has come, but we definitely need answers. We need answers for Lindsay.
Also ahead, a man convicted of savage abuse of a 4-week-old boy loses his appeal against his sentence.
Thousands of farmers still set to be impacted by inheritance tax changes, new analysis shows.
Plus the rest of the day's news, weather and sport, including we meet a wedding cake baker who has just won a top award for her creations.
The son of Lindsay Courtney from County Armagh, who died of cervical cancer in 2018 after her first ever smear test was misread, says he hopes an inquest into her death brings some accountability in her memory. Callum Courtney had only started secondary school when his mum passed away.
Today was the first pre-inquest hearing into the 30-year-old's death and came on the same day of another hearing for Erin Harbinson, who also died after 3 of her tests were misread. Sarah O'Kane reports.
Lindsay Courtney and Erin Harbinson both died of cervical cancer after their smear tests were misread. When they were finally diagnosed, it was too late. Lindsay from Portadown passed away in 2018. She was only 30. Today, during the first pre-inquest hearing into the mother of one's death, the coroner was told Lindsay didn't want any other woman to endure what she had to.
We are delighted and overwhelmed that the preliminary hearing has taken place. Today's progress has been made for Mum. We hope it will bring some accountability in her memory. This is also a stepping stone for transparency and to prevent this happening to other women, as my mum would have wanted.
I really can't believe that this day has come, but we definitely need answers. We need answers for Lindsay. She was asked some questions before she passed. Lindsay never ever knew that a mistake had been made.
Erin Harbinson, a mother of 4 from Tandragee, died in 2024. 3 of her smear tests were misread. Before she tragically passed away, the 44-year-old told UTV she knows her death could have been prevented. Erin's family were also in court today for an update into her inquest. The coroner warned there was a huge amount of material to get through for both and she wants it done properly. She said she was only made aware of Lindsay's death and the inquests will be a case managed together because they have similar themes. A major review of 17,000 plus smear test results between 2008 and 2021 was ordered by the Southern Health and Social Care Trust in 2023. And on the back of those findings being made public last year, Health Minister Mike Nesbitt ordered an independent review, stopping short of a full public inquiry. Other women have gone on to develop cancer because of the failings in screening. The Trust has apologised.
There's obvious public concern about this, so these cases will look rightly at the circumstances surrounding Erin and Lindsay's death, but obviously they won't touch on the many other women who have been affected, and that's very much why Ladies with Letters and others who have supported them continue to call for a public inquiry.
Erin and Lindsay both warned what happened to them can never happen again. Their families now hope the coroner will get to the truth, something they will never stop fighting for. Sarah O'Kane, UTV Live.
A County Antrim man who left a 4-week-old baby with a life-limiting condition after a savage assault has failed in an attempt to reduce his 22-year sentence.
Appeal judges also threw out separate bids by his wife to overturn her convictions for failing to protect the child. You may find some of the details in our crime and security correspondent Sharon O'Neill's report. Distressing.
Behind the smiles, a callous and cruel couple, their crimes now exposed, their victim, a helpless 4-week-old baby boy. Christopher Fulton, who was handed a 22-year sentence, for inflicting horrific violence on the baby, known only as P, must serve his full term after his appeal was thrown out. His wife Amanda Fulton, who was given 4 years and has now been released, also had her appeal dismissed. Their home here in Ballymoney back in 2019 became the scene of an investigation, with charges later brought against the pair which they denied. The court was told Christopher Fulton was the perpetrator of the appalling violence against the baby. His injuries so severe he was left blind and brain damaged and was close to death. Christopher Fulton was found guilty of causing grievous bodily harm with intent and cruelty. His wife also convicted of cruelty and allowing the baby to suffer physical harm. The 37-year-old also failed to overturn her conviction for failing to protect the baby. Now around 7 years old, he has been left with a life-limiting condition, but is loved and well looked after by his foster mother, who the Lady Chief Justice Dame Siobhan Keegan remarked is an example of all that is good in our society in the midst of all that is bad. Sharon O'Neill, UTV Live.
Thousands of farms here are still set to be impacted by changes to inheritance tax, despite the government increasing the threshold where they would begin to pay.
The Agriculture Minister, Andrew Muir, has written to the government urging them once again to fully scrap the family farm tax. Here's our economics correspondent, Jordan Motes.
Proposed changes to inheritance tax for farmers had caused uproar. It was one of the many U-turns from the government over the last 12 months. Just days before Christmas, the message got through and the government increased the threshold from £1 million to £2.5 million. New analysis from the Department of Agriculture here shows despite the changes, more than 4,500 farmers in Northern Ireland could still be impacted.
The effect that the introduction of this tax would have in terms of our food security and the viability of those farms is still very significant. And I suppose that's the reason why we're continuing to, and have been even this week, talking to Labour MPs and some of our own MPs around what we do next in terms of getting around some of those issues which still exist for that significant number of farmers. And we've seen this in tax policy in the past. It's quite common for government to freeze thresholds. By doing so, it's equivalent to an increase in taxation. We have, like, the nil rate ban has been frozen since 2009. This proposed threshold won't be reviewed until 2031. And in that time, we'll have seen significant price rises and no guarantee that actually it will be reviewed and increased at that time.
Under the original proposals, half of all farms here would have come under the new rules. That falls to 17% when the increased threshold is taken into account, but that still represents nearly 50% of all land farmed here. There is an option, however, for a $5 million allowance if passed on to a spouse. In that scenario, the number of farms facing a bill here would fall to just over 1,200, or around 5%.
We knew if there was a threshold at this level, there would be a number of farming business which would be outside of it, and that's what these data statistics are showing us. It helps to have the spousal transferal, but not all farmers can avail of that. One of the other statistics came out from the report is 30% of NI farmers are single. So it seems unfair that they should be penalised for that reason.
The figures in this analysis are based on an estimated value of land at just over £20,000 per acre. However, the analysis comes with the warning that significantly more farms could be impacted if land prices continue to rise. The Agriculture Minister has written to the government urging them once again to scrap the entire family farm tax policy. Jordan Motes, UTV Live.
Now, let's remind you about our Talking Politics podcast.
Yes, this week, Tracy and Vicky take a look at the Finance Minister's rates U-turn, the upcoming coronation of a new UUP leader, and a DUP show of strength for an under-fire Communities Minister.
On Monday morning, the tone was set when Gavin Robinson, the DUP leader, came out and was standing shoulder to shoulder.
Standing by his man, as they say in those country and western songs. He was absolutely behind Gordon Lyons. When they came walking past where the press pack were standing, they sort of looked over and there was a smirk on their face. They knew exactly what they were doing. It was a very deliberate cock and a snoop at everybody, really, about what was coming out.
And you can catch up with every episode of UTV's Talking Politics on ITVX or wherever you get your podcasts.
Some of today's other news now, and a man in his 60s has died after a house fire in Londonderry. It happened at around 11:15 this morning in the Grafton Street area of Rosemount in the city. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause of the fire is believed to be accidental.
228 police officers were assaulted while on duty during December. The PSNI figures released today show a slight decrease from the previous year. Officers were kicked, punched and spat on while keeping the public safe. At the same time, shoplifting rose slightly to 662 offences. Police say any attack on an officer is one too many.
Now, the Northern Ireland Football League has said women are needed in the sports behind the scenes roles. It comes after the organisation revealed there are only 2 women representatives among the 46 male and female senior clubs in the country. An
event has been held at Stormont to try to encourage more women into the local game. Jordan Moore reports.
The growth of women's football on the pitch is cause for celebration. The stagnation of it behind the scenes is a bit of an own goal, and those involved say change is needed.
Any job you can think of, football needs it, you know, whether that's a physio, an administrator, social media, photographer, like the roles are so vast. And we really just want to show that to local women in Northern Ireland and show them that the opportunity is there and they need to take it.
At Stormont, there was a meeting of minds from across the UK and the local game in an attempt to try and fix the representation problem. Despite a record attendance being recorded at last season's Women's League Cup final, there are only 2 female representatives across the 46 Northern Ireland Football League men and women's clubs. A missed opportunity for those who have been campaigning for change for years.
Representation, certainly at a senior leadership level on boards and things like that within the league, is incredibly low for women. Women can obviously, can often be sort of pigeonholed or stereotyped, oh, it's about empathy, it's about, you know, but actually women can be quite astute, highly emotional, intelligent, they can bring great decision-making skills, they can ask questions because they have lived experiences that men don't.
The UK is in line to host the Women's World Cup in 2035. Playing games at Belfast Windsor Park could generate a 120 million economic benefit and a priceless one for representation.
For us to be in football, to be discussed in those rooms, is somewhere football wouldn't have been discussed before. I think it's imperative. Coming to Northern Ireland will be absolutely fantastic. I think it will give people the confidence. So we talked a lot tonight about having the confidence to go out, to really show your own ability, because we've such a talent group of females, but for some reason they're not coming into football, and we need them in football.
A clear message: women are needed in football, but will the future game be more reflective of society than the past? Jordan Moore, UTV Live.
OK, still to come on this evening's programme. We meet the wedding cake maker from Omagh who has just won a top award for her creations.
And after this week's rather unsettled conditions, we have some drier weather on the way. I'll have all of the details coming up shortly.
But first, time to look at the headlines making tonight's ITV News at 6:30.
Yes, with the details, here's Charlene White.
Coming up, a man's jailed for life for the premeditated murder of hotel worker Rhiannon White. The Prime Minister's progress in China. Beijing agrees to lift sanctions on British MPs and peers. And remembering Dame Jilly Cooper, the Queen joins celebrities for a special memorial for the late author. So do join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Back here, let's get your sport.
Yes, here's Ruth.
Ready for the road. John Mulholland Motors proudly sponsors UTV Sports Updates.
Good evening. A weekend full of sport awaits and we'll look ahead to that in a moment. But first, sport has been bringing communities together here for years. The Sport for Peace project continues to provide children with opportunities across different codes, and it's been backed by big hitters Peter Canavan, Michael O'Neill and Rory Best. I caught up with them about big games coming up in football, rugby and GAA. For years, sport has been breaking down barriers and crossing divides. But now more than ever, children are getting the chance to play a range of sports and see which one fits best for themselves.
Between soccer, rugby and Gaelic, they do so much for providing for the youth in our communities, locally and nationally.
When we think about all the inclusion and how important sport is to that, it's the one thing that bridges all communities and all divides.
We've seen many sportsmen and women use their skills from one sport to develop in another. Northern Ireland international Conor Bradley is the most high-profile example, having switched from Gaelic football. You ever come across him?
Indeed I did. Our school played against, Holy Trinity played against Oma CBS, I recall, in a first-year match. And my own nephew was playing for Oma CBS, Shawnee O'Donnell, who's now playing for Tyrone. But he was telling me about his mate, who was a brilliant Gaelic player back then, Conor Bradley from Ahayarn. And I recall even back then, the talk was there's a good chance he's that good at the soccer, there's a good chance that he's going to make it over the water. So great from Liverpool's point of view and from Michael O'Neill's point of view, but what a loss to Tyrone, GAA, but maybe he'll come back at some stage yet.
The injured Bradley is a huge loss to Michael O'Neill for his side's World Cup playoff against Italy in March.
You know, devastating for Conor, first of all. It was a big blow for us. We can't hide that, but we have time to try and deal with that. We obviously have other options. It's possibly the area of the pitch where we have our most options in terms of the level of the player that we have to come in and replace Conor as well. You know, he's got surgery. Whilst he had a difficult week and a bit of pain, he's feeling a bit better, and obviously he's in great hands. He's at a great club.
Would you like to take him? Is that a possibility to take him to Italy and be part of the camp?
Look, that'll be something we discuss with Liverpool. First of all, does he want to do that? Every player has a different, I suppose, attitude to that. He'll feel that he's missing out. But we will prepare the team in Liverpool prior to that, and he'll certainly be with us in Liverpool.
On a more positive note, first choice keeper Pierce Charles may be available for the game in Bergamo.
He didn't have surgery, which we were positive about.
Before that playoff, the Six Nations gets underway. Ulster have 9 players involved, Jude Postlethwaite the latest called up due to Bundyacky's ban of 3 games for misconduct involving match officials last weekend.
Without knowing the inner details of what was said, I think the general principle is we have to protect the values of our game. If he strayed over that line, then there has to be consequences to it.
This weekend, the National League continues. Tyrone travelled to Derry in Division 2. Both lost their opening games last weekend.
From a Tyrone point of view, we're in Division 2 for a reason to begin with, and as you can gather from last weekend, it's going to be a very difficult assignment to try and get out of it.
Now, Jack Murphy is the latest Ulster player to sign a new contract, keeping him with the province until at least 2028. Meanwhile, several players will get their chance to impress tomorrow for Ulster against Cardiff in their URC game before the Six Nations break. Ethan McElroy makes his first start of the season at fullback, and captain Ian Henderson is joined in the second row by development lock Charlie Irvine.
I suppose with an Ulster, I was coming up at a stage where Hendy was maybe sort of getting the start of his career, and being able to look up to a player like him coming through, and then now to be playing out there with him is very cool. It's something that's sort of like, I think for my debut it was a wee bit like, oh my goodness, this is very cool. It's British national line you're playing with. But Ulster have had plenty of great second rows, throughout the years, like Johan Muller, Van der Merwe there, they're always players that, as a second row coming through, I was like, yeah, that's where I want to be one day.
Star for the future. Now Martin O'Neill has done it again with Celtic. They're into a playoff to reach the last 16 of the Europa League.
We'd have got long odds, us being in the group after 4 games, particularly my first game against Michelin. We'd have got long odds about us being in there in the knockout stages, but we're there, and we have another night at Celtic Park.
Martin O'Neill just keeps delivering, doesn't he? Now, Elite League leaders, the Belfast Giants, welcome Coventry Blaze to the SSE Arena tonight before rounding off the weekend with another home game against Glasgow Clan on Sunday. Defenceman Reid Irwin is looking forward to 2 solid performances.
You're just looking for predictability among your teammates, knowing where they're going to be, knowing where they're going to go, and that's the same way with your D partner or your forward line mates. So everyone's reading off of each other, just a little quicker, and smoother, smarter, then we're getting a little better puck luck at times, and I think we're working for that too.
Finally, there's a full set of Irish League fixtures tomorrow. League leaders Coleraine are away to Bangor. That is all your sport. Have a great weekend.
Ready for the road. John Mulholland Motors proudly sponsors UTV Sports Updates.
Now, if you've a sweet tooth, here's one for you. A self-taught cake maker from County Tyrone is celebrating after winning a top prize at the UK Wedding Industry Awards.
And the cake designer, who is also an author, does it all from her own kitchen. Nathan Hannah paid her a visit.
Oh my God, what? These cakes have the wow factor. Ask any couple. And the person behind the smiles is cake maker extraordinaire Emma Stewart.
Emma Stewart, cake design.
The 45-year-old has just scooped the prestigious prize of Wedding Cake Maker and Designer of the Year at the coveted Wedding Industry Awards.
I think you kind of go into that surreal moment. It's like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. And then it's kind of like, make sure you don't trip up the stairs when you're going onto the stage. I came second last year, so I really wanted that win this year.
Emma can spend up to 60 hours or more on one cake alone. And this award winner does everything from her own kitchen in Omagh. These elaborate creations are enjoyed by couples around the world, with Emma even catering for a wedding in Italy.
How do you transport a cake from Omagh to Lake Como?
So I took an assistant with me and we travelled with the real cakes in our hand luggage. So we had, pizza style bags, the cooling bags. We had those with wedding cake written on the side. And if I had like £1 or €1 for every time somebody pointed out that it was a wedding cake in the bags, we'd have paid for our flights there and back again. Whether it's from here to England or Scotland, or if it's over to Italy, you've got all the logistics that you have to bring into it. So we're never just wearing the hat of a cake designer. There's so much more behind it that we have to do.
Emma is so good, she can even do it blindfolded, proving it really is a piece of cake. But what's behind a winning cake? For Emma, it's all about the experience.
It's going to create a moment that is going to stay with them forever. So the idea is that I like to be able to present the cake to my couples. I like to be able to see and feel that first reaction, the way when you came in, were like, wow, when you seen them. That to me is like everything. That is the statement, the thing that gets across exactly what it's about.
So Emma, tell us what you're doing right now.
So I am just putting together 2 decorated vanilla iced biscuits. So these were baked this morning.
You can see your passion coming through here, even when you do it right in front of me. I mean, do you love this?
If I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it, because it's not a 9-to-5 job, and you could be working on weekends, you could be working on bank holidays. If it's a wedding between Christmas and New Year, I have been known to work on Christmas Day.
Emma clearly has the recipe for success. Nathan Hannah, UTV Live.
That's beautiful. Time to take a look at what's in store on UTV Live this evening.
Yes, here's Pammy with all the details.
Yes, on UTV Live tonight at 7, the little grey cells could be challenged. So I'll be joined by the menace, Dara Ennis from The Chase. The Six Nations Championship kicks off next week. I'll be getting expert views from former international players Craig Gilroy and Willie Anderson. And Rita's been finding out about the benefits of running. That's all coming up at 7.
We're joined by Louise now, who's going to tell us about the weather outlook.
Yeah, Louise, it's been changeable to say the least this week. Is that going to continue?
It has indeed. Storm Chandra, our third named storm of the season, brought relentless rainfall. Catesbridge, in the space of 24 hours, saw over 100 millimetres of rainfall. Now, in provisional statistics for the month of January provided by the Met Office today, County Down has actually had double its usual monthly rainfall, making it the wettest January on record for the county, with 220 millimetres beating the previous record of 218, and that was set way back in 1948. Now, for Northern Ireland as a whole, it looks set to have its second wettest January on record as well, and that's since 1877. Now, as you said, the rain, it's been changeable, it hasn't been very pleasant. This weekend, we do have some hope on the horizon. We have a few glimmers of sunshine, quite a lot of cloud, though some drier conditions. We can expect some rain Sunday morning, but that will clear through. Then into next week, back to some unsettled conditions again, and we have some rain in the forecast then too. And here's this weekend's update.
After a cold start, temperatures are expected to rise. UTV weather, sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
So after a rather unsettled week, plenty of rain in the forecast, we have some drier conditions on the way through Saturday and Sunday. Cloudy skies, though, never too far away, remaining fairly dull and grey at times. We do have some rain pushing through Sunday morning, but it should clear through relatively quickly to leave a drier afternoon with a few glimmers of sunshine, but we can expect some mist and fog over the weekend at times too. Low pressure continues to dominate our weather. It will do so over the next couple of days and into next week. We had a system push through today. The next area of low pressure pushes up from the southeast, bringing more in the way of cloud over the weekend ahead of the next frontal area pushing in on Sunday morning, bringing some rain. Tonight it should stay largely dry for most places. However, we will continue to see a few showers across southeastern areas. Cloudy skies where they break up. We could have a touch of mist and fog towards dawn, but it should stay frost-free. Temperatures holding up around 4 degrees Celsius with much lighter winds than we had through today. Tomorrow then gets off to a cloudy and damp start across eastern areas, but as we move through the latter part of the morning into the afternoon, it should become drier for most. A few glimmers of sunshine where we have any breaks in the cloud. Temperatures reaching highs around 8 or 9 degrees Celsius with light winds. Across the rest of Ireland, it's largely dry day, cloudy across eastern areas. Some bright and sunny breaks across the southwest where a few showers will start to push in. Winds remaining fairly moderate around the coast, freshening at times with highs around 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. A misty and foggy start for some on Sunday with some rain pushing through, becoming drier and potentially brighter into the afternoon ahead of some unsettled conditions once again into the start of next week. Bye-bye.
UTV weather, sponsored by the Grande Rona R290 heat pump.
Thanks, Louise. Well, it's almost the weekend, so the UTV newsletter is just hours away from dispatch.
Yes, featuring the very best of UTV's journalism programmes and much more, along with a laugh or two on the way. Have you signed up? Scan the QR code to get tomorrow's.
That's it. That's the very latest on UTV Live. Sarah's back with the late news, but from all of us here at UTV, have a very good evening and a great weekend.
Bye-bye.